Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fertility Village Live. We are here with Joy, who is usually our co host, but today she's going to be a guest. We also are here with Reema and with Melissa, and you can't see her, but we can. Tanya, our amazing producer, is in the background. So, welcome to Fertility Village Live. Tonight, we're diving into the journey of choosing single parenthood, what led our guests to this decision, how they build their village, and how this path has looked for them so far. So, as I mentioned, this week is super special because our co-host Joy is actually going to be on our panel because she is also a single mom by choice. Um, Alongside Reema and Melissa, and they all have personal experience navigating this journey as single mothers by choice. So let's get into it. Let's get started. So to kick things off, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves and share what led you to this path. We really want to know how you came to the decision that you wanted to do this on your own, because I can't even imagine what kind of a decision that is. And how long did you really think about it before taking the leap? Was it just like, I'm going to do this? Or did you think about it? Did you make a plan, a pro cons list, a map? What did you do? We're very, very interested to hear. So, Joy, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm the trier of the group. I'm 42 years old and I've been at this officially since October 2020. Um, for me, it kind of came in pieces. So I didn't even know I wanted kids until I was in my mid 30s. And at the time, I would just kind of casually say, hey, well, if I don't meet somebody and I'm 40 and single, yes, please nobody else fall into that trap. The 40s are not your new 30s, or did I just reverse that? Anyways, um I kind of said it. I never actually thought I would find myself here, to be honest. And my original plan was to wait until I was 40, but somebody wiser than me told me about their fertility journey and told me that they had diminished ovarian reserve since they were 36. And at that time, I was 37. So, of course, I'm like, okay, off to the clinic I go to get tested. And I had diminished ovarian reserve. So my actual decision to take the leap happened fairly quickly because I was basically told at that point, try now or forever hold your peace. So I needed to get the chickenpox vaccine. I did that. I started taking all of the supplements they told me to. I tried to get my hands on all of the books or podcasts and articles that existed on becoming a single mom by choice. And then I actually saw a counselor to try to decide whether this is something I actually wanted to pursue. And for me, the turning point was looking 10 years into the future. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm single and have a child, am I happy? Or am I happy meeting someone like 10 years down the road, being madly in love and being childless? And the latter didn't really feel good to me. So it was a pretty obvious choice. And I did have to act fairly quickly. So it was in the back of my mind, but I leapt pretty fast.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Joy. Um, I guess like everybody, and we'll hear Reema and Melissa's story as well, but I guess everybody has like a different way of getting to where they are, which is um, there's beauty in that, I feel, because not everybody takes the same route to where they are, but you guys are on a very similar path, right? So thank you for sharing. Reema, you want to go next because you're next on my screen?
Sure. My journey is actually kind of similar to Joy's. So I was 35 when I decided I wanted to freeze my eggs to buy more time to find the right person for me. I always knew I didn't want to settle. My parents had an arranged marriage, and that wasn't something I wanted. And so it was kind of in the back of my head, but actually making that decision is very different than thinking about it. So went to try and freeze my eggs twice. It didn't go well, and I was left with the decision: do I wait for a partner, or and risk my chance of losing having kids of my own, or do I go the path of solo motherhood? And then I realized, for me, it was more important to be a mom than to have a partner, and that love could wait. and my biological clock couldn't. So I thought that was going to be the hardest part of my journey, is making the decision. And then I found out I had unexplained infertility, went through several rounds of IUI, and then rounds of IVF, and then finally had one embryo transfer, and she stuck. And I have a 2-year-old now, and I was 39 by the time I finally, or when I had my daughter. So it was a bit of a journey, but no regrets. I only wish I started sooner.
Oh, thank you for sharing. And congratulations on having your daughter and pursuing that and having it go the way it did. It's interesting that you said, I wish I started sooner, because I think so many people, doesn't matter what kind of fertility journey they're on, that's like one thing that I hear so often is, I wish I had started sooner. I wish I had looked into my fertility sooner, or frozen my eggs sooner, just so I had more options. And so it's I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Melissa, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I was pregnant in 2020 and 2021. I was pregnant with identical twin boys. And I was with a partner at that time, and I sadly delivered them stillborn. It was a very difficult thing, the most difficult thing to go through. And when I lost them, I knew like all that mattered to me was giving them a sibling to watch over from up above. So I knew that it was something that was important to me. That relationship did not last very long after. And so then I knew that I didn't want to take the time to, go and find another partner, because that takes so long to, decide if they're the right one to have a kid with. I'd already just said to myself as well, when I was younger, if I get to 30, then I'm doing this by myself. And so I already knew that that was an option that I had considered, but I decided, no, I just want to go ahead with that right away. And so I didn't expect my journey to be near as long as it was. I conceived them very easily, so I thought that it would be the same. And it was not the same. I did, 5 IUIs and then 3 rounds of IVF and many, many transfers and more losses. And yeah, and an immune treatments. And now I am pregnant. My 5th transfer was a success. So I'm very happy to be halfway. So I'm very excited.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations for, getting to the happy side of your story. And we wish you so much luck for the rest of your journey. And hoping that, we get to the finish line and you hear those cries, and they're all good. Lots of good crying, not bad crying. Good, joyful crying for sure.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty that a lot of people wanted to know. Of course, I think a lot of people might think of single parenthood and might think, oh my goodness, that's so hard. But I do think that everything has perks and positive side to it. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think the key benefits of pursuing solo parenthood would be? What are the things that you're looking forward to, or like Reema, that you found like, oh, this is easier not having somebody else to, do whatever? I don't know if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah. So I'd say the first thing I would say is the pressure is off now of dating, right? I'm not in it now to date, to find a man, to get married and get pregnant ASAP. So that's a huge weight off, to just be able to choose to be in a relationship or not. And that's sort of my choice. So that's one perk, is that I'm not dating now with that pressure. And then the second, in terms of raising my child, there's no negotiating, there's no compromising with someone. I get to do it all my way. So I'd say that's probably the biggest one.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. That is very insightful. Melissa, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah. So everything that Reema said, I agree with. I also came from a relationship that was not very healthy. And so on top of that, you know, I don't like, I'm not experiencing any of the arguing or the fighting or anything like that that's going on. Like you said, just getting to make all the decisions yourself. Like there's not, you know, someone else that you're trying to, you know, make these decisions with that it can be difficult if you are not on the same page with some of the decisions. So that's really good too. But like you said, the pressure's off. I don't have any want to date, but like you said, there's no pressure. If you date, it's because you want to date someone, and definitely before this journey and before getting pregnant, my main thing was like I was serial dating to find someone to have a kid with. Like that's all that mattered to me, because it's all I've ever wanted. So that pressure's off.
So you're saying it's kind of like you were dating so much just because you wanted to find someone that you could have a kid with and settle down. But now you can just date if you want to, not date if you don't want to, because what you really, really want is to have a child. So it's kind of just like you can relax now.
Yeah, I wanted the child. Like, you know, like a relationship's nice, but it was not ever like you know, the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me was having kids. So
all right. Well, very good. And Joy, do you want to share your answer?
Very similar. It's very hard being last on this question.
Sorry, you could just say ditto.
Everyone has to have their turn being first. So yeah, definitely being in charge of making parental decisions, which was a huge one for me, because when I found out, there was no way I would ever have enough time to get to know a partner to actually decide, hey, this is the person that has shared values with me, and this isn't going to be such a battle. And I also find dating easier. I mean, as much as I date, I think I dated more in up until 2023, and then I've been hardcore doing cycles, and it's hard to do both at the same time. But there is definitely a stronger sense of self that you get in this journey, where you kind of know what you want, and you're not kind of persuaded by somebody saying, hey, put your plans on hold or anything. You're just kind of going for it. And if you're dating, whoever you date has to either accept it or they're not the person. At least they're not the person for me. I'm sure other people might put their journeys on hold. It's very personal, but that's not something I was prepared to do because of my age.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. And now that we're on that topic, because I'm pretty sure this is what people want to know, this is like the exciting part. Let me ask all of you. Number one, do you date during your fertility treatments? Have you dated during your fertility? Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. No, I'm getting yes and no. Okay. Do you date while undergoing fertility treatments? Reema and Melissa say no. Joy says yes. Do you tell people that you're dating? So Joy, while you're going through fertility treatments, like, do you tell them on the first date? Do you tell them a couple dates in? Do you share it on your, like, when you're chatting before you go out? What do you do? We want to know.
So I have played with this because I think from 2021 to 2023, I was more so, most of 2023, I was more online dating. So I kind of just experimented with it a little bit because what do I care, right? So I have told people while I'm chatting to them, I don't put anything in my profile about it. I just put wants kids. For some people, I've left it as if somebody says like, hey, I have a son or daughter, and this is a deal breaker, if this is an issue for you, then I'm at that point, I am kind of upfront about what I'm doing because they've been upfront about, I guess, their family situation. And if I'm point blank asked about kids, I will bring it up. On the other hand, if I'm going out, it's been a couple of dates, I don't really see it going anywhere, then no, I'm not gonna clue somebody into something that's personal. I'm still trying to find that balance. Yeah. And oddly enough, in I think it was 2023 towards the end, or was it 2024? No, it must have been 2023. I went on 2 setups at 2 different times, and at each setup, I was literally doing an IUI while going out on my first date with those people. So that was kind of interesting.
Wow. So like in the morning you had an IUI and in the afternoon you had a date, which is very, very interesting. And so now when you did tell those people like on a date, not the IUI people, other people, what were their reactions when you told them like, I'm trying to become a mom, I'm doing fertility treatments. Like, what did you get from them?
I mean, some of them are supportive and they think it's an interesting idea and want to learn more. Some of them have been like, hey, it's great you're doing that, but it's really important for me to have my own kid with my own sperm. And then, you know, we can be friends. It's not really a match. Like, I haven't had any super negative experiences, but
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, it's up to them. And some people are okay with it and some people aren't. And you just, it's not a personal attack. If somebody's not open to it, it's just, it's not the right match for you.
And now, has anybody ever asked you to like put your plans on hold? Say like, oh, maybe wait a little bit and like, you know, maybe we can.
I was asked by one of my setups, and I don't think he fully understood fertility that well, because he was like, well, would you consider a surrogate? And, you know, this was, I think I was 41. And I'm like, well, no, I'm 41. A surrogate won't really do anything for my own eggs.
Yeah.
Since I am pursuing that. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wait, sorry. Somebody
answer.
was uninformed and uneducated about women's health? Oh, that's so
never
rare.
Happened before, ever.
That has never happened. I never encountered that. That's so rare. Wow. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Okay. So, I know Melissa and Reema, you guys said that you don't really date during fertility treatments, but do you have any stories of telling somebody potentially that you're going to do this or that you're doing this? Reema, you're smiling. I don't know if you do.
I don't. I'm just thinking of clients that have, you know, told the person that they're dating. And some have either just not shared it with them and kind of gone along and said, if this relationship actually works out, then I'll share it with them.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, you know, I don't really need to share anything because, you know, it's not gonna change it, right? Like they wanted to continue on their path. There are others who went down the path of being a single mother by choice and then was able to get to the point where they were about to start trying, and then their boyfriend or the person they were dating said, I'm willing to try with you.
Okay, so they were already dating someone.
I'd say only a couple of months. It was very quick. It was a little bit too quick in my mind.
Got it. That sounds like something out of a movie. Like, we're dating, but I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. And then like you tell the person and then they're like, okay, let's try together. Very interesting.
He was really into, you know, her and he wanted to keep the relationship going. So he was open to exploring. So it can happen. It can happen.
Melissa, anything for you?
I've had people like ask me to date them, and I'm like, I'm always really polite about it at first. I'm like, oh, I'm just not doing that right now. Like I'm not great at confrontation, so I really try and beat around the bush. And then I had one person that was very persistent and kept asking me, and I was like, and then I had to tell them, I was like, I am doing this on my own and I'm pregnant. So, and then it was fine. But yeah, no, I didn't, throughout the entire journey, I've not gone on any dates. I didn't want to date. And I'm actually very like strict on my rules of not dating until my kids can talk. And I plan on having more than one live birth. So I would say maybe 7 years out from now, wow, I could start dating. Yeah. Cause like, the one that I'm carrying would be around 7 and, or 6. And then maybe the second one would be in the 4-year-old range. And then when my family's complete, then I would attempt starting dating then. But I want a really good connection with my kids and I first. And, I don't want to, you know, share any of my time with someone else. But, you know, things can change. I always think like, you know, maybe I'll meet some single dad at the playground someday. That's what I'm waiting out for. Single dad at the playground.
Yeah, okay, very interesting. Wow. No, thanks for sharing that. And you know what? You can do that because you make all the rules. So you can do whatever you want and it's your choice, right? So very, very interesting. Okay. So let's move off the dating topic because I think you guys already shared a lot and I don't want to put you guys on the spot anymore. But we're gonna move on to a question that I think a lot of people have because the traditional view of society is that there's a couple has kids, blah, 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 blah. But how do you manage on your own? What are your thoughts about that? And who makes up your support system? So you certainly can do this on your own. You don't need anybody else for sure, but it's always nice to have family, friends, somebody to back you up when you need it. So who makes up your support system, your village? How do you approach conversations? How have you told your family and friends, and what were their reactions? Melissa, you want to start?
Yeah, so I am really lucky. My family and my friends were very. Everybody was really supportive. I told them as soon as I thought I was getting onto this journey. So I joined the wait list, and back in the end of 2021, I joined the wait list. So I told people then that that's what I was doing. And at first I got one or two reactions that were like, oh, I don't know if that's the right idea. Like, it's going to be expensive. I don't know if you can do that on your own. But they came around really quickly. And my family's been very, very helpful. My parents would take me to my egg retrievals, and my mom came with me to every transfer. And I do have quite a nice community on Instagram, which has also been really helpful. So I've met people along the journey, whether it's in the Facebook groups or whether it's in the Instagram community. And we've all become really close friends. So they are reaching out to me, cheering me on, making sure I'm okay. So it's been really helpful to have that team of people that became my new friends that I didn't know before, along with the friends that were supporting me that I already knew, and the family.
That's amazing. Yeah, and Instagram is a great way to meet other people that is in your community doing things that you're doing, and so that's really great. And I think there's a single mom by choice. Well, Oasis Fertility Support Network has a single mom by choice support group run by Reema. Hello, Reema. But I think there's a couple other single mom by choice support groups out there as well, which is fantastic. Like, community is so important. And then you make like chosen family, right? Like, you have your family, and then you have like chosen family, which is amazing. So really good. Okay. Joy, you want to share? I will make you last this time.
Yeah, so very similarly, I think my mom has been my biggest supporter. She showed up to every single IUI, every single retrieval, every single transfer. And the plan is for her to actually move in with me for the first couple of years. While hopefully, fingers crossed, that I succeed. But, you know, when a child is young, and my friends have been super supportive, and they have their families, and my friends are my chosen family. In terms of support, because I'm an only child, I did have to reach out to a couple of people to act as guardians of my future kid in case I pass away. So that was also an important role that two of my closest friends are playing. One of them offered, which really touched my heart. The other one I had to ask, and I am very grateful their spouses are also on board, which is always nice. And then, of course, through the community, I've met many other single moms by choices through either support groups or even just meeting at the clinic. And the amount of support I get from these women is just incredible. We've been in the trenches together. We support each other almost daily. We've been through losses, we've been through challenges, and we've been through successes. So it's really nice. That was actually really important to me because I wanted to have a proper, well, not a proper thing, but I guess it was important for me to have my future child also be exposed to different family types, and one of them being family types that look like their own. So it's been really helpful meeting people in similar situations that I'm in, just so we can normalize and kind of get out of the traditional mom, dad, family type.
Yeah, the traditional box that society puts everybody in, right? No, that's really good, and that's community. Community is so important. Reema, how about you? Who's your village? Who's your support system?
My village is my family, and mostly I would say my mom is the one who's been with me to help raise my daughter. She's been the one that we stayed together for the first 2 months just to get through the first hump of the newborn phase. And then I moved back into my place, and she's been, because I have my own company, I didn't have a maternity leave. I went back to work after 2.5 months. So she was there to watch my daughter when I was working, and she's been my backup for daycare if I get those emergency calls, to come running and pick her up if I can't get to her. So it's been really important. My brother, my sister-in-law, they've all been really supportive as well. It's been really helpful. I will say initially sharing the decision, they weren't so supportive, my parents, just because this isn't the norm for us, traditionally. And so they did have a bit of a poor reaction. My brother even, emphasized it is important for the child to have a father, which I don't disagree. But I think the family was just kind of worried and coming from a place of fear in terms of their reaction. And that was before I sort of made the official decision. I kind of just said, in a family vacation, hey, I think I might do this on my own. But after I went through, the failed egg freezing journey twice, I think they saw how much I really wanted to have a baby, how much I wanted to be a mom, and, that they just got on board after that.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And on that note, I think this is a question that was formulated by Joy, which is, I think it's very important, and it speaks to how much we want to break the stigma. So this is for Joy and Reema. So South Asian women, did you encounter any unique challenges in making this decision? And do you feel like there was stigma or cultural barriers that you had to navigate while making this decision? Joy, you want to go first?
Sure. So my immediate family, they've always been quite liberal. So I was still a bit scared to tell them, though, because this is definitely out of the realm of liberal parenting. So I was super nervous telling my mom. I did it over wine on my balcony, and she was just super thrilled to have grandchildren. My dad is on board in the sense that he was happy when I was pregnant, and obviously it didn't stick because I'm not pregnant anymore. And he asks for outcomes. He doesn't fully understand IVF or the process. It's too scientific. He's old. Extended family, I was also a little bit nervous about, and they haven't said anything negative to me. So I feel like it's supportive.
Yeah.
But on a broader level, I think cultural stigma definitely does exist. And you see this if you're kind of in my position where I'm still trying with my own eggs, but I'm contemplating either using an egg donor or embryo adoption if my own eggs don't work. And there's a lack of South Asians donating eggs and donating embryos. Of course, there's a few, but I definitely think if you're in the mainstream, you have more choices and you're able to find people that may have similar features to you, which I think is something that most people gravitate towards if they're in that situation. So I've also found that to be challenging as I get further into my journey, and I don't really know what the outcome is going to be. So I'd like it to be normalized. So hopefully more people from our community would be in a position to donate, because it's such an important gift to give to somebody.
And that's just such an interesting perspective. It's not only about how your family or how your culture is thinking about you pursuing single parenthood by choice. It's more about breaking the stigma and getting more people from other cultures to donate, because that's really important too. You're right. If having somebody that looks similar to you, having a child that looks similar to you is of importance to you, you should have the same options that everybody has. And I feel like if there wasn't so much stigma, maybe a lot more people would donate. So that's a very, very, very good point. Reema, do you want to touch on this?
I definitely felt alone in my journey. I didn't know of any other Indian women who had chosen to be solo moms when I had started my journey until I joined Instagram and started Choice Mom Coaching. That's when I started to realize there are a few of us, but there's still not many of us. And I've always been a private person. So, my family was supportive and prioritized sort of my happiness. But I didn't really share it with my extended family when I was trying to conceive, nor the Indian community, not because of shame, guilt, or anything like, or that I was going against the culture. It's simply just because, it was private, and I didn't care to or hear any sort of judgment or want to be the topic of gossip. And so I kept it to myself. And, there are just so many Asian women who want to choose this path, but are worried about how their parents will react, or worried about their community, and feeling judged, and being sort of outcasted. The stigma is real. And, conversations like this are, great, because it allows women to know that they're not alone.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think, just fertility in general has already a stigma around it. And then everything has its own stigma, right? Surrogacy has its own stigma, single parenthood has its own stigma, egg freezing, like everything has a stigma. And then you add culture to it, religion, like it's so involved, right? So, and thank you for sharing, because some people might be watching this right now and saying, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I feel like that, and I felt so alone. And now I saw Reema and Joy sharing about their experience, and like there's people like me out there who like have just broken through all the barriers in their families and their cultures, and like maybe I could do that too. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing. Okay, I got a question that I think it's nitty-gritty as well, and people want to know. Let's talk about sperm donation. One question always on people's minds: how do you pick a sperm donor? Like, how does it work? If you watch movies, you go somewhere, there's a binder, you flip through pages, and you point and you say, I want that one. But how does it actually work? Are your sperm donors like known donors? Is that even a thing? Are they anonymous? And what are, let's say, maybe like the top 3 things that you were looking for when choosing a sperm donor, like your top 3 must-haves, which I don't know if that sounds weird because I don't really know the jargon, but Melissa, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So they have different sites that you can, go on and see the profiles. In Canada, we actually can see the full profiles on some sites that you'd actually have to pay for in the States. You can get free subscriptions to a lot of these for a 3-month period at a time, stuff like that, to view the whole profile. So yeah, like I just joined one of the sites and, started looking through the different profiles. They do have the different criteria that you can narrow your search by. Now, in Canada, we do not have a lot of donors to start out with. Never mind narrowing it down from there, but we do not have a lot of donors, period. In the States, they're paid for donation. Here they are not. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's altruistic here.
Yeah, they have to do it because they want to help, not because they want money. So,
and now do they get paid? Sorry to interrupt, but I know like egg donors, they get reimbursed for certain things when they go through their egg donation cycle. Is there anything like that for sperm donors?
I don't think there is, because I don't think they're going through like a lot to get the sperm here. Whereas like the egg donors are having to do a lot of, travel and appointments and medications and all this stuff to get the eggs here. So I don't think that they actually get reimbursed any, but maybe they get a little bit. But yeah, so when I was picking through mine, a few things that really stood out to me is I really wanted an open ID donor. Now we can get more into the conversation of the different donor types. But there is some research, and everybody has their own opinions, and I'm not here to say one opinion's right or wrong. But there is some research that open, to some point, whether it's known donor or whether it's open ID, it is helpful for the child to be able to know more about their donor, be able to contact them when they're 18 if they choose to, things like that. So when I saw that, I said, okay, well, I'm not comfortable going with the Facebook groups because they're really creepy sometimes. You can get some good people in there, and I have friends that used them and had a great experience, and I'm not against that at all, like I said. But for me, it's just, it felt a little scary to use the Facebook group. And so I said OpenID was probably my best option, so that my child does have the ability to reach out at 18. But I know that the sperm donor is vetted by the company and has been tested and gone through all these testings. Another thing that was really important to me was genetic testing. So a lot of donors will go through genetic testing. I wanted one that was negative for everything because I had not tested myself. And so that is a very, very, like, when you click negative for everything, all the donors go away.
Oh, no.
Because
Okay.
most donors have something. And you just have to like see what you have and kind of misalign those so that you don't have the same thing, right? But because I didn't know what I had, I clicked that. So, and then I wanted someone that's tall because I'm tall. So I wanted someone that's tall. And when I put those 3 criteria on, I was left with 2 donors. So it made it really easy.
Okay, so we got
I don't know why that's doing that.
it was like a little like you did the right thing. There you go, 2 donors, and so you just reviewed those and you picked, and that's it. Like just one of those 2 ended up being your donor.
Yeah, I asked my family what they thought of the 2 different ones, but I already had a strong opinion that I wanted to go with the one, and they also agreed, so that was good. And he's a very popular donor in both Canada and the United States. So I had to sit on a wait list for a while. I was actually 170 in line for this wait list. But a lot of people join wait lists, but then they just go and get another donor. So I did move up the wait list pretty quickly, and I was able to get a couple vials of his. I ended up getting 7 in total. Because I did 5 IUIs, which IUIs take a full vial each. And then I did 3 IVFs. IVFs, you can use 1 vial for 2 rounds of IVF. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very interesting. And now, on average, I don't know if this fact, but how many families can one sperm donor donate to? Like, is there a cap? Like, can they donate to like 5, 10, 15?
Different companies will have different caps. And so the company that I was with, I believe is 25 families. And I believe we are at that cap. Yes.
Oh, very interesting. And now is there, will your future children have any way to find their siblings, like their half siblings?
Yeah. So they have some Facebook groups where you can say, I used this donor, message me if you use the same donor. So I did that right away, right when I was starting to try, became friends with a few of them, and we started our own group. And then anytime someone posted in there, like, hey, I use this donor, then we'd be like, okay, come join our group if you want. And so now we've got this wonderful group. They've cheered me on for the last 3 years, and it's great. We really get along. I cherish them a lot. So we definitely have a really nice group together, and so the kids will grow up knowing their siblings and everything like that. So
that's so wonderful. That's like an extra added layer of like support and chosen family, and like that's so cool that you guys have took it upon yourself to make a separate group and like join or welcome other people from the same donor in the same group. So that's really, really cool. That's a very, very interesting perspective, and thank you for sharing that. Joy and Reema, who wants to go next? Rock, paper, scissors. Just kidding. Reema, go ahead.
In terms of how I picked my sperm donor, it is pretty much exactly like how Melissa did. In terms of, first you think known or unknown. And for me, it was going to be unknown. I didn't want to have to deal with the legalities of the known donor. And then for me, again, open donor, I wanted my child to have that option if she chose to or he chose to. Height, I thought I was having a boy, so I wanted to make sure that it was going to be tall and not be short like me. But when it came down, so I ended up switching donors during my journey. So after I did the 6 IUIs and the 1 IVF, I ended up switching over to a different donor. I'd say the process was a lot easier the second time. The one thing that I sort of recommend my clients when going through the process, because I find it pretty overwhelming, is when you get down to sort of those last couple 3, down to your top 3, is imagine yourself introducing your donor to your child, you know, how would you describe them? What part of their profile would you sort of highlight? What about them did you like and that you will want to talk about? And that sort of helps narrow it down to the one. And it's what worked with me too.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Joy, go ahead.
So when I got into this, I always thought having sperm donor choosing parties would be fun. But the reality when you start in the middle of COVID, and I think ongoing, is that there's always a shortage and there's this urgency to grab the donor that you like when you see it, because there are tons of wait lists. And I have been on many wait lists where I'm being put on wait lists for several donors because I was like, I'd take that one, I'd take that one. I just need somebody to show up on time for my cycle. So I am on my 4th donor, and very similarly, I'm very risk averse, so I wasn't going to, no judgment. I know people do it, going on these Facebook groups. I'm already risk averse, so the lawyer in me initially when I started literally researched all the lawsuits against all the sperm banks. And then I had to kind of take a step back because fertility is highly unregulated. And I think each of them has their dirty little secrets. So I just had to trust that, okay, let's just trust that not everyone's lying. It's not completely crazy. And from that, when I picked my donor, I was like open ID because I had taken the time to listen to donor conceived kids, and knowing where they come from is super important. So I didn't want to take that choice away from my future child. It's up to them whether they want to have contact or not. Second, I was like, what can't people lie about? Genetic testing. That is like about as objective as it gets. And originally I hadn't tested myself, but I eventually did. But even when I did, I still have always picked somebody with no genetic conditions, just because then I start going down the rabbit hole, and it's not a good rabbit hole to go down of like, what if my grandchildren now become carriers? Because when I was carrier tested, I actually tested negative for over 500. So I'm sure I have something, but not what they test for. So I didn't really want to rock the boat. But I think only 25% of people test negative. So it does really shrink the pool. And then from that pool, I think I paid a lot of attention to the voice recordings if they existed.
Okay.
Because sometimes you think somebody looks great on paper and you would listen to a voice recording and you're like, oh God, I don't want my child to be introduced to this person. Or if the voice recording wasn't available, I would look at the essay, their reasons for donating, and sometimes the message that they have for their future, I guess the product of their donation. I don't know if I would refer to them as their child, but
the sperm donor baby.
Yeah, the sperm donor baby. It's kind of really nice, the message sometimes that they give to the intended parent or the intended child. And I think that always kind of opened a door to what this person is like, because at the end of the day, I wanted to pick a good human.
Well, okay. Thank you. Okay, moving to a separate topic. Thank you for answering that, by the way. I know some people might not want to share all those details, and maybe it's just something that you want to keep in your family, but we appreciate you sharing that because you are breaking stigmas, and you're probably answering a lot of questions that people want to know because they might be in the same spot, and so that's very, very important, so we appreciate it. Okay, the financial aspect of single motherhood and pursuing this path. Now, everybody thinks like, you know, when you have two streams of income. Don't tell us how much you make a year. This is not that kind of question, but it's just, how do you handle the IVF portion? Do you get covered for one funded cycle? So like if you're a couple, you usually get one cycle. Do single parents also get a fertility cycle funded, for example, in the province of Ontario, because we're all in the province of Ontario in Canada? How do you accommodate that? And then on the other hand, if you do work for someone and you're not working for yourself, are they accommodating with you? And like, do you have benefits through work that are helping you? What does that look like? Work and finances. Melissa, want to go first?
Yeah, so I was lucky. I was able to, my work was flexible with me. I didn't tell them that I was actually on a fertility journey until I was 16 weeks pregnant. I didn't tell them. I just told them I had doctor's appointments, and they never asked. But they were really flexible. I do have fertility coverage where I am.
Okay.
I also have 4 weeks of vacation a year. So for the last 3 years, I did not take one single day of vacation for purpose of vacation. I just used my vacation days for all my treatment stuff.
Okay.
And so that's how I got around having so much time off, because I used my vacation for that. But they were flexible with me taking days for appointments and things like that. They did have some fertility coverage, which was good. Like I said, I never expected my journey to take this long, to need to do as much as I did. I thought I was going to be like the one IUI and done type of person. And I was just not in that group. So it ended up using up all the savings that I had, put aside for this. I ended up using all my fertility coverage. And that ran out halfway through the first IVF. So then the next 2 IVFs were after that. So yeah, it's honestly, I'm going to be paying this back for a while. But it's okay. There's different reasons people go into debt. And for me to have my miracle is just, I'm okay with that. And I always say, we might not be the richest household. We're not going to be able to do all the stuff that maybe other households could do that have 2 incomes. We're not going to be able to do trips to Disney World. I just do not have the income to support that. But I don't think that a child really needs, all the bling. I don't think they need iPads and iPhones and all this stuff. I think they need love. And that's what I've always said. And I've got tons and tons and tons of love to give. So my kids will know that they're very loved, and I will make sure they're provided for.
That's so sweet. And I totally agree with that. A lot of people go into debt for a lot of reasons, and this is not a bad reason to go into debt. Love is all anybody really needs, and it's true, and they don't need all the extra stuff. It's a nice to have, but not a need to have. So that's very good. Joy, you want to?
Yeah, so in terms of finances, my journey has ended up being a lot longer than I ever thought it would be. So I went into it with a very rational head, thinking, okay, I'm going to do my 1 OHIP funded, 1 private round, and then if that doesn't work, I'm going to just jump to an egg donor, because I had an egg donor fund saved away. At this point, oh geez, I don't even know. I've basically done 3 successful retrievals, 2 unsuccessful retrievals, 4 transfers, 6 canceled cycles, 2 of which I switched to IUIs, and then I did 2 planned IUIs. So in terms of where did I find the money, I have burned through my savings. Every year, if you're doing fertility treatments, you can claim medical benefits. So to continue, I've been using the refund I get on my tax returns and the bonus I get from work, and it's kind of carried me through. I'm very grateful and lucky that I've been in a position to do this. And in terms of my workplaces, so I've actually been at 2 different workplaces throughout this journey. I'm a lawyer, so I actually made the decision to leave private practice and go in-house because I couldn't even find time to schedule an embryo transfer. So I'm in a better environment for my needs at this point. And partway through my journey, I didn't tell my workplace when I initially joined while I was on probation, but I did disclose this past year, and they have been accommodating me because I switched clinics and my clinic has long wait times. So I basically work from the clinic using the Wi-Fi they have. I'm currently on a break from doing hearings, and luckily I work at a place that's big enough that I have colleagues who can cover my attendances. So my workplace has been absolutely fantastic in supporting me throughout this journey.
All right, thank you for sharing. Reema, go ahead.
I'd say, for me, I'm fortunate enough to have gone through, fertility treatments, with, paying for it and then also getting a funded cycle. It was longer than I expected, but I was able to manage. And really, from a financial side, the only thing now is being solo parent and owning my own business. It's just that's always a consideration. Can I provide the way the life I want to be able to provide for her, to be able to give her all the things that I had in life? That's always in the back of my mind. But I have a great motivator in the sense, like, she's the reason I hustle and work hard really every day to be able to provide for her. So I will
Yeah.
continue to do so, and hopefully it'll all work out.
Yeah. And for anybody watching out there, it's not only expensive for single parents, it's expensive for all parents. So we don't have to look at it like, oh, you're doing this solo, like, how can you afford it? Nobody can afford this on the whole entire planet, and we all go into debt. So it doesn't matter what your path to parenthood is. It's expensive for all of us. And so we're lucky in Ontario that we get one funded round. It's not like that in all of Canada. The US, I don't think, has anything like that. But this is an expensive journey for everyone. And so, we all have to make cuts, right? And I'm assuming you guys have traded in things to be able to pursue your fertility journeys. And like, that's commendable because you're like going towards your pathway and you're doing what you need to do. And so, yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know sharing about financial stuff can be a little bit, taboo, but it's good to talk about it for sure. The conversation is fantastic, but we are running out of time. So I am going to ask you to give me one piece of advice for anybody considering this pathway. This pathway to parenthood, being a single mom by choice or even a single parent by choice. What is one piece of advice that you can provide them with, Melissa?
I would say just having a good community. Like if you don't want to tell people right away, you can make an Instagram. A lot of people make an Instagram, but they don't share their identity. So there's a lot of fertility Instagram accounts where you have no clue who everybody is, but you're just there to support each other. So whether you want to do that or whether you want to join, we have a Single Mother by Choice Canada Facebook page, if you want to join that, but just, having a community, I think, is the most important thing, because, community is important no matter what, but especially if this journey takes longer than you thought it was going to take, or if you have to go through the difficulties and the ups and downs of everything, having a support team beside you can really help you through some of those darker days. So definitely a good support team.
Great advice. Support and community is so important. Reema, go ahead.
I would say one is for women to know that this is an option, right? Like, a lot of people are scared, they wait too long because they're worried they're not enough or they won't have the support. And it is possible to make your dream come true and take control of your fertility. And the way to do that is just knowing your options. So getting your fertility assessed right away and just know, do you have time or do you need to get started? Had I not done what I'd done in terms of freezing my eggs, I probably would have waited longer and missed my chance. So I'd say know that it's an option and get your fertility assessed.
Okay, Joy.
I was going to say get your fertility tested because it's often daunting to make the decision, and it's so easy to get caught in the trap of thinking about it and researching it. And if you think too long, you might miss your window. So I would say get tested, figure out where you're at, and then use that information to plan your next steps. Like, are you still at a point where you can consider egg freezing? Are you at a point where it's more beneficial to freeze embryos and just start the journey? Or, do you have amazing AMH and can you think about it for a few more years? And like, I think one thing that most people don't think about, and I think everyone naively does it, everyone thinks they're going to get pregnant on the first IUI that they do. And it's like, when's the right time to start? And it's like, well, there's no really great time to start. And even if you start when you think it's the great time to start, you might be on this journey for like 5 years or 10 years. Hopefully not. Hopefully you are a unicorn who gets pregnant the very first time, but the chances of that happening are not that great in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's important to realize where you are and make decisions accordingly.
Yeah, thank you. And that comes all back to reproductive health and women's health education. I think if we as women had better education, or health, our family doctors started talking to us at the age of 16, 17, and started telling us how important it is to think about our fertility going forward, and not just telling us to abstain, because that's the message, like abstain, abstinence, abstinence. It's about reproductive health too, and how many things could get diagnosed, and how many fertility issues can get caught before we start trying, and then figuring out that, oh, we do have diminished ovarian reserve, or we do have endometriosis or adenomyosis. And there's so many things, right? And so if we were told this sooner, maybe we would all freeze eggs around 25, and then we could use them when we wanted to, and we would stop the clock in that sense, kind of thing. So yes, thank you for sharing. Okay, quickly in one sentence, Reema, did you speak already? Did I go over you? No, I did. You did. Sorry. So exciting. Okay, one challenge, and so the greatest challenge that you've had and the most rewarding part of this journey. Joy, you want to go first?
Biggest challenge, actually getting pregnant and staying pregnant.
Okay.
Given that I am in the trier stage, that is very much a huge challenge. The most rewarding part, connecting with the incredible community that I've been provided with. I can tell that the community wants me to succeed. And, you know, I've benefited a lot from personal growth. I've never had a clearer sense of purpose or sense of self. I've learned how to set healthy boundaries, live a healthier lifestyle, be more patient. I faced a lot of fears, and I guess love for my future child has had me do things I never thought I could. So I think that's been the most rewarding.
Thank you. Reema.
I'll answer as the parent. Greatest reward is the ability to make all the decisions and being able to do it all my way. It's also the greatest challenge. You are mentally exhausted from being the sole decision maker. I thought I was going to be physically exhausted. It's actually, for me, been more mentally exhausting.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. Thank you. Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, mine's also very similar to Joy. For the hardest part of this journey was getting pregnant and staying pregnant. You know, everybody's fertility journey is different. We all have different things that are hurdles, right? So whether you have diminished ovarian reserve, or whether you have immune issues, like there's so many different things that can come into play. So for me, when I had my initial testing done, I was told that I was extremely fertile. Like my antral follicle count is like 39 every month. Like it's great, but you know, that didn't stop me from having issues and having to try for 4 years. You know, because I had the immune side of things that is not as common. So I guess the hurdles, you know, I did have a lot of losses along the way. I would say the losses were devastating every time, over and over again. So yeah, so definitely that was my greatest hurdle. And I would say, yeah, being pregnant and you know, making it halfway, and my baby being healthy, I would say that's probably the greatest accomplishment for sure.
Thank you. Okay, and so I just wanted to take one quick second and just share. So Melissa and Reema, you guys do share online on Instagram. Melissa, what is your Instagram handle for anybody that wants to share your journey or see your journey, follow your journey?
Yeah, it's at Single Mother by Choice Canada.
Okay, and Reema?
At Choice Mom Coach.
And you are also, do you want to tell us 2 and 3 seconds what you do for people going through your path?
Yeah, I support women choosing this path so that they feel less alone.
All right, awesome. So we have a lot of resources. Melissa said there is a support group. There's Facebook groups. You guys can always search on Facebook. Oasis Fertility Support Network also has every fourth week of the month, we host a bunch of support groups, but one of them is Single Moms by Choice, hosted by Reema. And so there are lots of places to get support. If you need that support or you want to learn more, you can always message any of us. You can message the Oasis Instagram. You can message the Fertility Village Live Instagram, and we are happy to share that with you. This has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you to all three of you, Joy, Reema, Melissa, for sharing. Joy, thank you for stepping back this week and opening up your hearts to us as a panelist and not as a host. For those watching, if you're considering this path or you have any questions, remember that you're not alone. There's a community here to support you always. All you got to do is a quick little search and you will find us. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Oasis FSN or at fertility__village. And if you have any topics that you want to see us cover, please let us know. We are happy to take that feedback and listen and cater our episodes to you. Tune in next week for Dr. Ariel. It's going to be good. And remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you are never alone. So until next time, welcome to the village. See you later. Bye, everybody.